Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Curriculum and Instruction Committee meeting at an unusual time, 3:30 today. I want to thank the committee members for being here that got here early, and I know that others may be arriving, so we will try to introduce them at some point as well. I want to remind everyone that our meeting agendas, materials, along with the recordings of past meetings and this meeting as well, are available online at lausd.org/CIC, CIC for Curriculum Instruction Committee. And you can not only see the meeting that we're recording today, but you can see any of the past meetings as well. Today is the first of two conversations about community schools, an often misunderstood concept, but one that is thriving in LAUSD and all over California and across the country. LAUSD's Community Schools Initiative is doing incredible work in their effort to deepen and expand community schools across Los Angeles. The four pillars are driving how we support our principals and community school coordinators. Hi, welcome. Thank you for getting here. I know we're starting early. I would like to ask, the four pillars are driving how we support our principals and community school coordinators. I'd like to ask the folks that are here from LAUSD Community School Steering Committee to stand up, but I think we've only got like one of you. All right, well, just stand up and be recognized. I know a lot of them are watching us on Zoom, and so I want to say publicly thank you to that steering committee because it's a big part of how we make progress and learn from each other rather than everybody have to figuring it out by themselves. We still have a lot to learn. And when it comes to teaching and learning looks like at a community school. Anaheim Union High School District, we believe, is leading the way in how curriculum, instruction, and assessments are implemented in a way that supports the whole child. They have developed structures that support deep learning and meaningful assessments. They will make their presentation to us, and we'll have time for questions and discussion. But before I introduce our guests, as always, I ask each committee member to introduce herself. We will start with our board members. That's me. At the end of the AAUSD presentation, I will ask Dr. Francis Bias, our Chief Academic Officer, to reflect and give us a preview of what we will cover in the next curriculum and instruction meeting. Committee members, Denise, start by introducing yourself.
Hello, I'm Denise Harper. I am a teacher at Vista Middle School. I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade history in the special day program.
Hello, buenas tardes. My name is Vicky Martinez. I'm a parent of 3 current LAUSD students and a proud LAUSD alumni.
Hi, my name is Cecily Feltham Hammond. I am also an LAUSD alum, and as of Monday, I now know that I'm going to have 2 kids at Irving Middle School. Yay, starting next year.
Along with my granddaughter. We're becoming an Irving family here on this committee. All right, and of course, our...
Francis Bias, Chief Academic Officer. Good to be here.
And boy, in charge of lots of stuff that I love. So I'm going to ask you to come up, but be very brief. Very brief. All right, a minute or two, because I want to make sure we go.
Community school coach for United Teachers Los Angeles and LAUSD. I'm here today on behalf of the Community School Steering Committee and filling in for Rosa Jimenez, community school educator and steering committee co-chair since 2019. The Community School Steering Committee has served as a vital structure in informing the infrastructure and conceptual framework of the Community Schools Initiative. As we looked at where we are as an initiative and focused in on our stage of development, there was an intentional and collective decision to make sure that the Community School Steering Committee represented a more comprehensive part of the community schools ecosystem. So currently, the Community School Steering Committee is charged with assessing successes and nurturing growth. This visionary approach is aimed at meeting the diverse needs of community school coordinators and other dedicated individuals on the ground. But as we pursue excellence, we also draw inspiration from various educational hubs where teaching and learning are paramount. Our community has thrived in forging partnerships, laying a strong foundation for progress. Presently, our initiative is making significant strides, particularly in training individuals on equitable grading practices and social emotional learning. Next month, you'll hear from our very own Cora Watkins on what impact this has had on our 55 community schools. And lastly, as we address challenges and explore new avenues, we recognize that transformative progress in instruction requires the leadership of instructional leaders and stakeholders to be deeply invested in this endeavor. We hope to inspire you with remarkable achievements a school district can attain when labor partners, the superintendent, and school administrators are deeply engaged in seeking solutions through the community school approach. I'm just going to wrap it there and say that we possess the essential components, but we now want to turn our attention to our Anaheim brothers and sisters to glean insights on structures and systems necessary to make impacts in teaching and learning. Thank you so much.
All right, now I'm going to introduce, thank you, Carlos Hernandez, the Director of Community Schools, Family and Community Engagement, and you can introduce your team as you see fit. Thank you very much for being here.
Wonderful. Oh, my goodness. It is an absolute honor on behalf of Anaheim Union to be here and hang out with all of you amazing people. Thank you to the Curriculum and Instruction Committee. Thank you, President Goldberg, for the opportunity. Great to see my teammates that have come and hung out from LAUSD. Dr. Weiss, thank you for visiting a few months ago. And we had some friends at our community school leading and learning visit that visited. So great to be back with you. Let me introduce the team. With us, Anaheim Union. My name is Carlos again, Hernandez, Director of Community Schools and Family Community Engagement. I'm just going to go in order. Tyler Sherman, here to my left. He's a teacher at Magnolia High School, and he's going to share some things around e-cadence and how to capture community input. Diana Fujimoto, our Coordinator of Professional Learning, a longtime teacher as well. Mike Switzer, also a longtime teacher. He's on a special assignment. He's an ELA curriculum specialist. We have an amazing student. You said, bring a student. And so some of you went to Loera High School, heard Emilia share. So we said, well, you guys know Emilia. Let's have Emilia share. So Emilia from Loera High School will be sharing a soapbox speech, something that she's very proud of, and that we're proud of having her a senior at Loera High School. To her right is also Loera High School staff. Jessica, she's one of our speech language pathologist teammate to Emilia and helping her along the journey. And actually, Jessica's going to introduce her, Emilia, when we're ready. And then Jeff Morgenstern, our association president for the Anaheim Union Secondary Teachers Association. He is the president of the Secondary Association. So thank you, Jeff, for being with us, co-leading the work around community schools. All right. Some may know that Anaheim, the city of Anaheim, is, there's this other place that people know Anaheim for about. Disneyland, maybe? We're in the shadows of Disneyland. A beautiful place, a beautiful city. We actually have 5 cities that Anaheim Union has the pleasure of receiving amazing children and families that we serve. Our demographic information is there. What I wanted to highlight is because we do know that Anaheim may be unaware for some of you what it looks like. We have a beautiful demographic, diverse community of students and families. We serve 26, almost 27,000 students. We have comprehensive sites. We have junior highs and high schools. We're a 7 through 12 school. We also have a beautiful Hope School that serves our severely handicapped children. We have alternative education schools. I want to highlight that part of the strengths we're going to share, we also want to be mindful of the challenges and needs in our community. We also serve 81% of the students that we serve are socioeconomically disadvantaged. English learners, 6,000 English learners that come to our schools. And so being mindful of the strengths that they bring, the language, the culture that they bring, we also want to be very intentional when we serve them and support them in and out of the classroom. 14% students with disability, and then homeless and foster youth also make up our demographic group of students. So again, a plethora, 67 languages that are spoken in our beautiful community, and also strengths, lots of strengths, but we need to be mindful of our challenges. We start, when we talk about our Anaheim Union, we share our coherent, our clear vision, that it came to life in our schools many years ago as we were redefining, imagining what is possible when we come together, when we work together. As your district steering committee represents of students and parents and staff members, both classified and certificated, community members, our administrators, working together, schools went through a future protocol process to re-envision, reimagine what is possible when we work together. And from those re-envisioning phases, each school looked at their vision statement. And the question, part of today's sharing is, how does that vision come to life? From vision to action, from vision to systems and structures. Our vision came to life through that process. Our vision here is to create a better world through Unlimited You. And in our mission is there to the right, which focuses on being socially aware, civic-minded students. And we need that community approach to ensure that that happens. Our values come to life from our vision. And community schools, if you're aware of the 4 pillars, Dr. Jackie, you shared that the 4 pillars are so critical in the work that is happening here. As we see systems in the 4 pillars, we talk about asset-based approach in the 4 pillars. It resonates, and as you described the journey, community schools for us didn't necessarily start 3 years ago when we got the funds. It started on a journey years ago that is systemized now under the umbrella of community schools. Equity and justice. So you see those values here on paper, and we bring that to life through the community schools approach and in the classroom, which we'll talk about. The last sort of framing is this vision around community schools. When we Google community schools, we are going to find thousands of ways of understanding community schools. You and LAUSD have an understanding and a definition and a meaning behind it. Our Community School Steering Committee, again, as you have, collectively designed this understanding of community schools that fits the understanding of the vision, brings the vision to life in this community schools approach. And I'm going to read it to you because I want you to understand the different components. When you look at the framework, and there's a imagery in this, and I'm sorry, I think when you had printed, missed this slide. So I'm so sorry because this slide was missing. So I know we're including here. And you now have it, so again, I apologize. The heart of the work around community schools is the thriving student. We're in the work of educating our students. So at the heart of the work is the thriving student. We cannot do that work without thriving staff, thriving communities, thriving schools in a trusting environment, right? An environment that is asset-focused, an environment that embraces the 4 pillars. And for us, it frames the work around what is happening in the classroom that connects outside of the classroom. So community schools is not what happens on Monday, and then we talk about teaching and learning on Tuesday, and family and community engagement on Wednesday. It is one and the same, right? And it is clear on the framework for us that it's all connected, and we're all part of the work. Again, our vision of that last circle is the Career Preparedness Systems Framework, which Diane is going to come up and share in just about 30 seconds. And that work is what happens, is our instructional drivers. So community schools helps lift up the voice of our students. It helps infuse the 21st century skills, and it helps bring those technical skills into the classroom to be used outside of the classroom, right? So that work, and again, the community school language is really centered around thriving students, thriving families, thriving communities, and we do that together collectively. So Diana's going to come up to talk about the Career Preparedness Systems Framework.
Thank you, Carlos. So as he was explaining, our journey really did not, to where we are now, it didn't happen overnight. There was a lot of work that went into building, where we are today. In fact, if we look back at 15 years ago, really is when I think we started building some momentum or laying the foundation. Beginning to reimagine what education could look like for our students and thinking about what instruction should be for our students really began, again, like about 15 years ago. And really, I would say within the last 10 years, thinking about how, going back to one of our core values, is how do we make sure education is working for our students and not the other way around. our superintendent, with the support of Education Division, developed this Career Preparedness Systems Framework, our CPSF. And within that CPSF outlines our 3 instructional drivers. And this really is our North Star when it comes to what instruction should look like for our students. We want to make sure that we are providing meaningful, relevant instruction. We want to make sure that our students are prepared once they graduate from AUHSD to navigate the world beyond, high school. So our 3 instructional drivers focus around these 3 here. We have 21st century skills, we have technical skills, and perhaps most importantly is youth voice and purpose. The student is at the center and at the heart of our work. I'm going to invite our curriculum specialist to talk a little bit about the skills and dispositions, how this all came to be.
Thank you, Diana. So you have likely seen studies like this before. This was in a report that was published last May by the World Economic Forum. It's their Future of Jobs report. And if you look at the skills that businesses and industry leaders are deeming important on the right-hand column, you'll notice really that those are 21st century skills over on the right-hand column. Analytical thinking, creative thinking, resilience, flexibility, agility. And everybody look down to number 16. These are the skills and dispositions that industry leaders, career leaders are looking for. Reading, writing, and arithmetic, math. We're down at number 16. And when I look at this study, I have to keep my teacher fragility in check, right? And I know that students can't do numbers 1 through 15 without being able to read and write and do math. But this is very telling. And so we know that really to prepare students for the world that they're going to live in 5 years, 10 years, in 25 years, we can't do it playing the old game. That we have to change our practices, we have to transform the way we do education. And so our approach through the CPSF, by giving kids opportunities, regular opportunities, consistent opportunities to practice the 21st century skills and reflect on them, to build those technical skills and use their voices, that's really the path that we believe is going to prepare our kids for the future.
So just to give a little bit more detail of those 3 instructional drivers, the first one connects back to the core values, right? That it is through the 5 C's. We in and model the 5 C's. So the 21st century skills for us include collaboration, communication, creativity, critical thinking, and character and compassion. And so thinking from a teacher's perspective, how am I, as a history, social science teacher, as an English teacher, as a math teacher, and so on, how am I providing opportunities for my students to develop these skills that, as Mike Switzer pointed out, are what our folks outside, in industry, that's what they're looking for. So we believe students develop these skills through explicit instruction, consistent and intentional opportunities for practice, and just as important is providing opportunities for our students to reflect on their growth in those skills. In terms of technical skills, what we mean by technical skills are things like computer skills, data skills, but industrial mechanical skills. We're talking about career education, CTE pathways, but it also includes subject matter knowledge and proficiency, world language proficiency. So again, what are those experiences being designed by our teachers intentionally in the classroom to provide students opportunities to practice and reflect on those skills? And then lastly, we have, as I mentioned, maybe the most important is that youth voice and purpose. So how are opportunities being developed in our classroom to cultivate that student voice? And that all of the examples we have here, from expression all the way to activism, all of it is important. But ultimately, we want to provide a variety of opportunities for students to express themselves, to to serve as consultants, participate, be in partnership with our teachers as they're designing lessons, take on more leadership roles, and then be actively engaged in the school and the community. So I think because of our 10-plus years focus around the development of these skills and the cultivation of student voice, our professional learning has revolved around providing the teachers with the support they need to be able to design those opportunities in the classroom. So we've done a lot of work around project-based learning. We have a civic learning institute that we provide our teachers. In fact, we have close to 300 students who have gone through either through LA County Office of Ed or our own AUHSD Civic Learning Institute, so that they learn how to build civic engagement into their curriculum. And we have also sent several teachers to civic engagement training through MICVA. So as a result of this, we are seeing an increasing number of students having those opportunities to share their thinking, their opinions, their ideas, cultivating their voice through soapbox speeches, our version of TED Talks, we call them the AUHSD Talks. So with that, I want to invite Jessica to come up to introduce our student speaker.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jessica Ekstrom. I'm one of the speech-language pathologists at Loera High School. And I have the pleasure to introduce Amelia Villarreal today. When I first met Amelia, she avoided all opportunities to talk. And fast forward to now, you wouldn't even believe that she's the same person. And this is all really thanks to her soapbox speech through her AVID class that allowed her the opportunity to express and educate others about a very important topic to her, stuttering. So, Amelia.
Hello. My name is Emilia Villarreal, and I stutter. My goal is to bring more awareness to the society and that has speech impediments. Did you know that about 1% of the entire world's population deals with a stutter? And that means that after today, you can say that you have met someone special, me. My stutter affects my ability to communicate verbally. As of now, there are no known causes or cures for stuttering. Even after extensive research, scientists have chalked it up into being caused by genetics or by a neurological problem. There are 3 main types of stuttering: repetitions, blocks, and prolongations. And repetitions are mostly self-explanatory. It's when someone repeats the first sound of a word or the whole word itself. And blocks can only be described as no sound coming out. And these happen to me quite often. I try to speak, but it's like my throat closes up and I'm unable to breathe. Prolongations are formed by dragging out in the first sound or consonant of a word. Stutters are normal, but are expected to go away around the ages of 4 or 5. And my mom was the one to notice and that my stutter, unfortunately, remained by my side. I never fully acknowledged it until I started getting teased for it, which is when I became very self-conscious and I developed anxiety. I have countless stories of me being laughed at, experiences that have permanently altered in the view I have of myself. One thing that triggers stutters to worsen is being put in stressful environments. For me, this consists of having to participate orally in my classes. I stopped participating in my classes because of the embarrassment and fear I had of stumbling over my words in front of everybody. Having a condition like this is like an iceberg. And the top is what the person portrays in their behavior. Some common behaviors are identified as nervous gestures while talking and an overall withdrawal from social situations. What you don't see are the thoughts that go through their head. I'll give you a little insight into my own feelings about it. Realizing that the people around me are able to express themselves without worrying about if the next word in their sentence will come out with ease or not makes me feel disconnected from everyone else. It feels like everyone is judging me as soon as the words begin to spill from my mouth. A comforting prospect in this are the support groups that help each other overcome the fear of stuttering. Not everyone who stutters is going to have the same problems I do. And some people don't care. Even after numerous years of speech therapy, I still find myself wishing I could be fluent. Some days are harder than others, but I'm making progress to accept it. If you were to ask me 3 years ago if I was able to accept it, I probably would have laughed in your face. As I grow, I continue to learn how to live with and embrace stuttering as a part of me. I want to bring awareness into this topic because you never know when you'll meet someone else with a speech impediment. I have some tips for you. Don't laugh. If and when you come across someone with a speech impediment, the worst thing you can do is laugh at them. Also, try not to complete their sentences if you see them struggling. And this is more of a personal preference, but every time someone tries to guess what I'm trying to say, it makes me feel like they are trying to get me to stop talking as soon as possible. Remember that everyone is different and some people just need a bit more time and patience. I hope I was able to teach you a bit more about what I go through as a person who stutters. Thank you.
So much, Amelia. Thank you for sharing. Fabulous. Did you hear that? Yeah. Awesome. And we'll get into, as we reflect, how a student comes and shares and finds the courage. But, her journey began, as Jessica mentioned, in the classroom, giving students an opportunity to be a part of those solutions, call to action. She wants to bring awareness. And that's what, Soapbox Speeches and other TED Talks are about, is taking relevant, real-world challenges and bring them to life through the students. The students are our experts, our families, our parents are our experts as well. So thank you, Amelia, for sharing your passion with us. So how does it look in the classroom, and what does it look like to make this happen? Community school, we're going to talk about the 4 pillars. One of them talks about teaching and learning, a little bit. And what we've brought in, and again, shout out to our NEA friends, our National Education Association friends, they have developed community school pillars. They've added a few that are very explicit around what happens in the classroom. The community schools lives in the classroom, teaching and learning. Students are thriving, right? And teaching is a most important part of the community schools, along with services and partnerships and family community engagement. 2 pieces. One of them is strong and proven curriculum, and what that looks like, bringing in culturally relevant materials, bringing in challenges, the assets of our community, our students, language, but also the desires, their passion, their interest. Right? And so we need time, professional development for our teachers to be able to develop that. That takes time, right? And again, we appreciate the collaboration that we are having with our union. That is critical to be able to do that alongside each other and to support that work. High quality teaching is critical, right? Well, what policies are in place to ensure that great teachers are with us and are developed and are supported and are thriving, right? Thriving students, thriving families, thriving community, thriving teachers. So NEA did a great job, and so I ask you and I urge you to look at those 2 pillars along with the pillar that is, for us, the state of California, enriched and expanded learning. And that's what these 4 pillars are, right? Along with the first pillar, which is integrated support services, the supports, that's where the services live. Can't do the work without our partners in the community. Of course, we need our services, to not live in silos, but to work together alongside, right? That's critical in our community schools. I'm going to skip the green one. Active family community engagement. Family and community engagement, we cannot do the work without our families. We're dead in the water if we're not involving our families. And to have families thrive is part of the community schools approach and the community members at large. Collaborative leadership and practices, this is critical. This is what's happening here. Everyone is listening. We're sharing the space with students and teachers and parents and community members. And we're giving up a little bit of that reign, that power to be able to say, I hear you. Maybe I could easily have made that decision. Let's do it together. And to listen is critical in this collaborative leadership and practices, right? So to go back to that expanded and enriched learning, that again, the words itself, along with after-school programs, along with evening, along with Saturday Academy, along with those times that happen outside of the school, when the students spend the most time outside of the families, are the adults, those teachers in the classroom every day, every period, is a part of the community schools experience. Dana's going to share a little bit more about that pillar.
So yeah, just thinking about this expanded and enriched learning time and opportunities, quite often in our conversations with community schools folks, they see that as after school or on weekends. But what we've really tried to do is be very intentional about how we can take enriched learning time and opportunities and integrate them into the school day, right? And so when we started to learn more about community schools, I think because of our laser focus on those 3 instructional drivers, I think we were positioned well to build on an already strong instructional foundation. So when we were awarded the community schools grant, this really became our focus on, again, just really doubling down on those 3 instructional drivers. But this really resonated with us because this underscores the fact that strong student supports, those wraparound services are absolutely necessary, but and providing those additional opportunities, but that can't compensate for weak instructional programs. So we need to make sure that we are providing a robust, meaningful instructional program for our students, and we felt like we really were doing that with our laser focus on those 3 instructional drivers. So for us, when we think about, and I believe you have this article, 20 Years, 10 Lessons. So this is where the research is coming from. And we love this quote because it really rings true and it validates what we have been doing in AUHSD. So we are working to make sure that instruction is engaging, that we are providing those real-world project-based learning opportunities. Curriculum is responsive to the local history, to the knowledge, the values. We know that there's so much community cultural wealth in helping our teachers to surface that and then integrate it into the classroom. Community schools ground student learning in civic engagement and address real-world issues. And so what I want to just take about 2.5 minutes to share a quick video with you. Again, it's about 2.5 minutes part of this video. I think this is a great example of how our students and community identified a real-world problem and how that school embraced it, the issue around food deserts and food insecurity and health issues, and what the school and the district did to really bring that community, bring that into the classroom.
When the COVID pandemic shut down California public schools in 2020, many campuses within the Anaheim Union High School District became food distribution centers. Sabina Jacquemus, a teacher at Magnolia High School, took notice.
We saw how many people needed produce. So we knew that there was a need and a problem that we could solve for our community by building the farm.
The farm is the Magnolia Agri-Science Community Center, or MAC for short. Building it was Anaheim's response to California's ambitious $3 billion initiative to dramatically expand its number of community schools, public schools that not only educate students, but also provide support and services to the neighborhood as a whole.
What we're standing on used to be an empty dirt lot. Students have identified food deserts as a very real issue that is facing our community, where there's fast food restaurants all around us, but there's not a lot of grocery stores or places for families to go to get organic, healthy foods. And this is contributing to obesity and health issues that we're seeing in our community.
The only foods that are really there for the community are junk food and things that do not benefit or give us any nutritional value. And us as students found community gardens as a very good and efficient solution. I'm seeing the vegetables and fruits being grown in our MAC, the Magnolia Agri-Science Community Center, being taken into our cafeteria. I've also seen it helping families and parents and students by providing them with locally sourced, healthy, nutritious food.
So every month we have this thing called the community dinner. So anyone in the community can come to our school. They could buy our produce. They could taste our produce.
We have boxes that we sell to local communities, to local families that are taking these boxes and they are bringing these foods into their homes. So this is like their quasi grocery store.
For every pound of textiles produced in Indonesia,
the farm feeds the community, but it also helps educate the students. Their instructors are interns from the University of California, Irvine.
They teach lessons around pollination, around sustainable agriculture, around pesticides and runoff, growing food in a changing climate, using UCI science students as our teachers. So it gives them a little teaching experience. It gives us smaller class group sizes to learn about urban farming and sustainable agriculture.
And then the learning that is happening here with our students, they're able to go back and speak to their families, speak to their friends, and we're seeing a ripple effect in terms of making healthier choices.
Sabina Jacquemus manages the farm.
That's just one example of how our students, alongside our families, alongside our teachers, are listening to each other, bringing in those hopes, those dreams, those assets, but also being mindful of those challenges, in this case, food insecurity, and doing something about it. right? And so that's what the community schools approach is about. How do we lift those hopes, those dreams, those interests, being mindful of the challenges and the needs to be able to do something collectively, using the experts in the room, which are our students, which are our families that are closest to the impact, right? And our teachers and our staff that are connected to the schools. And that brings us to this idea and this concept, this structure that community schools is a significant component of community schools is capturing the data, capturing the needs and the assets is what it's called. We flip it. We talk about the assets and the needs. Let's lift up the assets. Let's lift up the hopes. Let's lift up the dreams, their strengths, the language, the beautiful things that our community brings, while also being mindful of the challenges and the needs that are part of our community, right? To do something about it. The assets and needs assessment process is relationship centered, right? And it's defined on the slide. It uplifts those voices that are typically not at the table, that are typically not making decisions, typically. Again, that's a generalizing, but we breaking those barriers down and ensuring that they're in the room, ensuring that we're asking questions, that we're not stopping at a test. Perhaps we're going deeper. We need to continue to spend time, necessary time, to lift up those voices, again, of our students, our families, our staff, our community members, the businesses that live in our community, to ensure we know how we can help continue to thrive in that community. So that process is critical. That data, this idea of street data, if anyone has read the book, Shane Saphir's book, authored a book called Street Data, she describes the different types of data that exist in our world, in our community, and what we're accessing. What we're accessing is one component, which is the satellite data. Satellite data, important, right? Those are our scores. Those are our graduation rates. Those are our attendance rates, right? That helps us understand some pieces, but it's not the entire picture. We need to continue to dig and ask questions. Well, why? Why is the attendance rate that? Why is the graduation rate that? Both strengths and also areas of growth. We need to continue to, in the next phase of that data that we dig into is groups of data, so map data. So from that attendance data, let's look at different groups of students and why, different regions of the community, why this one has a higher rate and this one does not, right? The why is a very important question we ask here. And sometimes, typically, we stop there and we say, all right, well, we got the data, we got that satellite map, let's take action. But we need to continue to ask, why is the attendance rate difficult in this area, this neighborhood? And then we begin to understand. They have to walk through, when we ask students and our families, that perhaps that area is gang infested. Perhaps it's tough to get through to that community, so there's challenges in that environment. The distance may be, and that's just a simple example around attendance. So that data that we begin to ask and grapple with and understand and ask our experts is called that street data. That's where we have interviews, empathy interviews, where we ask focus groups of parents to help us make sense of what we're getting from the satellite and the map data. So individual focus groups, and this is where we learn what we can do. That then gives us that informed data that helps us make that informed decision. Together, collectively, they're helping us take action. What is a great structure that was designed years ago in the state of California is the LCAP process. The LCAP process is exactly that decisional body, students and families and parents and staff, all of those different entities that look at data, that make sense of it, that ask questions, and they're in the room to be able to say, this is why, and this is what we need and what we can do, and make recommendations. So that LCAP process, just to connect, LCAP process is a huge part of what we say is going to help sustain the community schools approach. LCAP is just as part of the community school approach as anything else. Diana.
So yeah, we really have adopted this philosophy around street data because what we found is when we just look at the satellite data, the big data, sometimes that leads to deficit thinking because people are looking for quick fixes. So something is wrong, we need to fix it now. Sometimes, this is according to Shane Saphir and Jamila Dugan, the co-authors of Street Data, that sometimes it leads to shaming It's definitely lagging data because we don't get the data until the kids are gone, right? And so that's frustrating. And sometimes it leads to asking the question, what's the matter with you? Like, what's the matter with you, community, with you, district, with you, teachers, with you, students? Instead of looking at street data, which is more, which it invites more of abundance thinking, and it recognizes that change is complex. With street data, as Carlos mentioned, this is where folks are coming in and they're having a conversation. We do community voice circles. Our teachers and coordinators are doing empathy interviews. And so from that, we're able to really showcase the assets of our students and the community. The data is immediate. It's right there. We get it directly from the source, and it's dynamic. And it raises the question, what's right with you? What matters to you, right? So completely different perspective there. To help us collect this data, this is part of our system of in terms of our community school approach. We have community school coordinators, and those are classified positions, but we also have community school teacher leads, and they are critical partners in the work around community schools. So they are part-time released. They are still in the classroom, so they are, classroom practitioners and can speak to the experiences of the students. They are there to, they are the face of the community school in terms of the teacher lens. And so we work with them on building their capacity around these enriched and expanded learning opportunities, a culturally responsive curriculum. And again, they're really focusing in on that student voice and agency. So we are really proud of the work that they have done and are doing. Tyler's going to speak to one of our other systems we have in place to help then capture this data and make sense of it.
All right, thank you. Before I get started, I wanted to say LA Unified is very close to me. It's where I did my student teaching. It was where I taught for the first time, so I'm really happy to be back and talking to you all. Go West Adams. Go West Adams. So we talked about the difference between satellite and street data, and Diana made a very important point about oftentimes satellite data is lagging, but really when you're collecting large data sets, it always takes a long time. Okay, Carlos mentioned data that informs action, but the problem is data may be the most valuable currency out there right now. Everyone's trying to get your data, but getting those insights of the data takes time, and that time often makes that data not relevant anymore. So we were really thinking about a way, especially with the new artificial intelligence boom and all this stuff that we have at our fingertips, how can we get that data coded? How can we get informed on that data faster so we can take action? So here we have this rejuvenating education through community schools, where first, we start off by some type of convening, okay, some type of data collection, right? That could be surveys, that could be meetings such as this, anything. And then from that, we are able actually to use through our learning management system, eCadence, we're able to get that coded immediately to where we get those insights immediately. So then we get that action, and then what that does now is for teachers, it allows us to take action and bring it into our classrooms immediately. I like to give this example at Magnolia High School. We have, or everywhere in AUHSD, we have something called Raising Student Voices, where student leaders go inside each of the schools, each of the classes, and they get just feedback from the students. What is on your mind? What is bothering you? What's going well? All these different things, right? And I went up to one of the student leaders. I was like, well, how are you coding this data? And this was when this was very new. And he's like, well, I just go in and I make a little tally mark after someone says school lunch, tally mark. I was like, oh my goodness, there's got to be a better way, right? So then we put it through our system. We did that on a Monday. I put it through our system. I got all of the insights. And then on Tuesday, I did a civic lesson on it. And that's the power. And that's the difference, where it's taking data to action immediately. So where I had students come up to me and say, what we chose was something around school food and school lunch, which wasn't surprising. But students came up to me and was like, we take these surveys and we never know what happens. I brought that up, and then we did a lesson on it the next day. We talk about voice and purpose in our district, that's it. We talk about community schools, that's it. It's those assets, it is those needs of our schools and our community, and bringing that into the curriculum, bringing that into the classroom. And that's really how we've been leveraging our LMS and AI to kind of bring that in.
All right, so we're going to try something with you all. We're going to collect some street data, like live. What you have in front of you and then on the screen there, and so for the audience, you can also as well. We want to know a little bit of the community input right now, live. And so take your phone out if you can, or if you have your computer, you can also just type in that bit.ly and type it into the computer or scan the QR code, and it's going to ask you 2 questions. And you're going to have a chance to, share it. Obviously, for the sake of this, we'd like to close it in a couple of minutes to be able to show you what we can capture quickly to be able to get to, as Tyler describes, action, with the group of people that are in any collaborative space. Again, so there's 2 questions. One question is going to be about how do you, what is a community school to you? And the second question is, what's my second question? Let's get to it. There we go. I know it's here. What is a community school? And then what is one thing you value that should be measured in schools? All right, what's one thing that's valued, and I see people beginning to add to the responses. Immediately you can see, and Tyler can describe it a little bit more, the process.
Yeah, so where there's so much value into this, we can be in a meeting such as this, or we can, do something larger with our community members, with our parents, with our students, whoever. But we can be in a meeting and I get a stream, so I can see people's responses immediately, which in fact could impact how I run a meeting, how I run different types of groups within my classroom. So I can get a feel for this, right? So right now we have up here we have about 13 responses. I'll wait just like a minute or so, and then 15. Okay, so obviously the larger the data set, the more informed our AI is going to be able to kind of help generate these themes. So what we're able to do on the back end is we can kind of do back end prompting to pull out what we want, right? Which is just themes of what our responses are. So I can go to summary right now, and then I can see here that from question 1, what is your vision for a community school? The top 2 themes, and it's giving me the top 2 just because 21 responses isn't a large data set. If there was 500, it would be the top 5 themes. It would be a vision for a community that fosters collaboration, engagement, and support for all stakeholders. About 37 of the people surveyed said that. I can go in and I can see, so now as the data is getting bigger, now there's 3 themes. And then for the second question is the top 3 themes that merge from the value that should be measured in schools, the theme focused on overall well-being and engagement in schools, and so on. So again, imagine the power, the value that this could have is where we collect data. Did it take us really any time to code that data? No. But now I can take this data and do something with it now.
So we're using this right now with our LCAT process, for instance, where we had 600 of our educational partners in the room, and these questions, whatever questions you want to ask, can be quickly captured. You see a gap in whatever your goal is, what are the recommendations? Recommendations are put in there, 500 recommendations, and we find the themes, the highest collective summary of what we all believe collectively should be those recommended adjustments for our LCAP. So again, immediate response, and that's the goal, to be effective and efficient with our time. All right, we're going to switch over back to the slides. Thanks for playing the game there, guys. Appreciate it. To try it out. All right.
All right, and then
I assume you have some method for those of us who are technologically inept and don't know how to do this.
Yeah, I mean, so there's multiple ways that we can address that. We would send it to you. There's QR codes, there's links. We have mobile apps for parents, and and different ways that we can get everyone, a voice. And then also, I mean, at the end of the day, we also understand that not everyone wants to use technology, and their voice matters just as much, right? So we can collect that, and we can manually input and get those themes to make sure every voice is being heard. So the last thing that I think we're taking a really unique approach to addressing assets and needs is through what we call Scrappy, who is a student-designed AI chatbot. The way that he kind of quickly functions is he is a tutor, a guide. He's there to assess and help the student, but he is not, and he is trained not to give the student the answer. So I always like to say, if you say, write a 3-paragraph essay on community schools to ChatGPT, it's going to write you probably a pretty great 3-paragraph essay on community schools in ChatGPT. Scrappy, on the other hand, would say, what do you know about community schools? In your first paragraph, you could consider this. Your second paragraph, you could consider that. But where there's so much value in the way that Carlos and community schools and our district is viewing Scrappy is Scrappy has so much data and understands our community schools have so many resources. But oftentimes our students don't know those resources exist, or maybe they're just too shy or too embarrassed to say that, hey, I need this, which I get and I understand. I was that kid in high school where I was like, I was just trying to hide till I made it to baseball practice, right? So Scrappy, on the other hand, kind of provides this security blanket to where you can say something to Scrappy like, I'm hungry, or I have nowhere to go tonight. And now Scrappy is not a counselor, will not counsel, but Scrappy knows the resources that we have vetted and we have given him. So he can say, here's the access to a food bank, here's the phone number and the address. Here's this. He knows the resources that we put into him. So that student, all students, have the ability to know what's available to them. And that's really how we're leveraging, a unique way of a chatbot. And that's just one of the ways. From academics, it's completely different. But that's a great way with community schools, just so our students have access.
So as you can see, we have a lot of systems in place. In terms of the transforming the teaching and learning, before we brought in our community school teacher leads, 15 years ago, we started with our 5 C's coaches. They are also part-time release. Their charge was really to provide professional learning. They're teachers on special assignment, as I mentioned, part-time release, looking at the 3 instructional drivers, but really honing in on the 21st century skills. I mean, now that we have our community school teacher leads, as part of that partnership there with the data, the street data, and doing a lot of work around centering community-based curriculum and pedagogy. And so that is what we are finding has been really transforming the classroom experience for our students. When we have our community school teacher leads who are taking all of this asset data from the community voice circles, interviews, community tours, they're surfacing those assets, the needs, the passions, aspirations of our students, coming together with that laser focus of our instructional drivers. Boom, that is just, again, really what is transforming that classroom experience. We are seeing these educational shifts in the classroom, moving from a pedagogy of compliance to a pedagogy of voice and agency, where we're not seeing the teacher in front, it's not teacher-centered. We're not seeing the sage on the stage, it's more student-centered. Looking at students, looking at their assets, and again, thinking about how we can integrate those into the classroom experience for our students. This is where the really fun part. Now we're going to get into more details about that classroom experience with our curriculum specialist, our ELA, Mike Switzer.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you, AUHSD team. We've developed a performance task assessment system in AUHSD. So we have an ask of all teachers in the district that each teacher at some point in the year implement 2 performance task assessments with their students. through the process, our students will develop some sort of product, some sort of artifact. The word artifact comes from the Latin phrase arte factum, which means something made with skill. And that was very important to us when we're thinking about the idea of compliance versus voice and agency, that our students are not just regurgitating what their teachers tell them, they're not just taking notes on things, but they are actually producing things. They're being agents. Our student over here did a soapbox speech. That was her artifact. Okay? And we want our artifacts to show that our students are much more than just receivers of information. A couple years ago, our teachers, led by the Ed Division and then vetted by our teachers, created this document here, the 9 Guiding Principles of a Performance Task Assessment. We have structures and we do have a system to the way that we do school and the way that we do performance tasks. This document is really our common language. It's our placemat. And when our teachers plan their curriculum, they're developing their curriculum specialists, their performance task assessments, we're looking through this lens. I'm going to pause for 30 seconds and just give you 30 seconds, glance through through some of the guiding principles. Sorry if you don't have the hand. Earlier, we talked about the Career Preparedness Systems Framework and the 3 drivers that really frame our work: youth, voice, and purpose, 21st century skills, and the technical skills. And you notice the direct line from numbers 1, 2, and 3 to our vision. I have 2 daughters. They're both in college now. When the second one's a first-year student now in college. When she was applying for schools 2 years ago, one of the colleges she applied for, she had the option with the application of submitting some of her work, some of her projects. She could create a portfolio and submit it. And it said, choose projects from school that you are proud of. And so I said, Phoebe, do you have something from your 5 years at this school? It's a 7th through 12th school. She was going into her 12th grade year, that you would put in this portfolio. And she said, well, I have stuff from the dance conservatory because I choreographed a couple dances. And I have something from Assist Teens because she was the president of her chapter of the Long Beach Assist Teens. And I said, well, what about school? What about from 8:30 to 2:30? Do you have any work, any projects that you could submit? And she said, no. And I'm thinking, you've been at this school for 5 years. And this is a school that by traditional metrics does very well. And my daughter was a very good student with traditional metrics. She had a very high GPA, passed several of her AP classes, did well in that regard. But not one experience would she showcase on a college application. In AUHSD, we believe the whole curriculum should be around things that you would be proud of, things that you would engage in, things that the students would put in some sort of a portfolio like that. The 9 guiding principles, we believe, get our teachers there to get our students there. We believe that our students should not just learn about these things, learn about physics, learn about history, but they should become physicists for a while. They should become biologists. They should become historians. That is our mission. The guiding principles can be kind of abstract. So in order to support our teachers, we developed a design template that really takes it from a vision into reality for the teachers. It guides them through the guiding principles. It helps them implement. There are 3 pages to it. There's an overview page, there is a design page, and there is an implementation page. And the template does a lot of things. It centers the students, it creates good habits, and it creates good lesson design work. One of the first things that teachers are asked to do is think about their students. What do you already know about your students and community? That's the first question they answer. Rather than starting with standards and curriculum and then thinking backwards to the students, we actually center the students and put them first. Our students are perseverant and resilient. Chronic absenteeism plagues both Ball and Loera. We know that our service area is extensive, and some students must travel 3 or more miles to get to school. Some of these students who live in the Hayes-Stracciatella High School area take 2 public buses and spend more than an hour to get to school. They developed a performance task assessment around chronic absenteeism, where the students were looking for solutions. There's a great piece called The Pedagogy of Poverty by Martin Haberman. It was written about 25 years ago now, maybe even 30 years ago now. And he talks about good schools. And when he writes about good schools, he says the good schools take the problems, they take the issues, and they make them the curriculum. They don't avoid them, they don't dance around them, they make them the curriculum. What would the product be? Depending on the topic or issue they chose to undertake, their call to action will vary. Final products, the artifacts, could include the following: an editorial to a local newspaper, oral proposal to a LEA, video documentary. So we're giving many of the performance task assessments give students a voice in the way that they want to use their assets and their skills to present their knowledge and their learning. I'm going to play for you a digital composition that was created by one of our students. I think it's about 2 minutes long. And as you're watching it, I want you to think about it through the lens of the Career Preparedness Systems Framework and the 3 drivers. So think about the 5 C's, the 21st century skills, think about student voice, and think about technical skills. So to give you a little bit of a context, this is from an English classroom. Students read a poem, and then they used it as a mentor text, so they wrote a poem kind of based on the basic structure of it. And then as an added layer, the teacher asked them to turn it into a digital composition.
My mom holds her accent like a belt, with one strong hand. Her mouth, all buckled, hinged between her lips, unfastened as she speaks, her chest high and proud. She speaks a concoction of Spanish and English dead set against one another. There's no telling my mama she wrong. She don't know wrong. Her voice is savory and sweet, and you best not tell it to hush. She worked too hard for too many hours and too many years for her voice to come. Her Spanglish turns words such as interesting into interesting, and for example to for example, and this, these, and thus all sound the same to her. My mom doesn't say okay, she says va, and suddenly the tornado in her mouth becomes a Ricardo Arjona song. Her tongue can't lay itself flat enough for the American language. It's got too much curve, too much bone, too much cumbia, too much salsa, too two-step, got too many guitar strings in between her teeth. It's got too much llave, too much strike, got too much pico de gallo to sit still. It'd be an anxious child wanting to make Play-Doh with the mud on her streets. English is too tidy for her kind of wonderful. Her words flooding conversations between women whose hands are all they got. Sometimes our hands are all we got, and our mispronunciation of the English language reminds us of how we are still bella, still buena. Say buenas tardes and a stranger becomes an hermano. Say que onda and a crowd becomes your family. My mom's tongue is a cable from her pueblo, decorated with bailes from her barrio. So even if her lips can barely stretch themselves around English, her accent is a broken clock, always pointing to 12, when her papi's voice echoed, "A comer!" from the kitchen to the warmth of her bed.
Mama don't know wrong. I love that line. It's a beautiful poem. The student did a great job composing the poem. But think about what that added layer of the digital composition did for her, and how it would have been different just reading the poem versus the student actually narrating the poem, right, with that voice. Just a beautiful job. And when you think about our career preparedness systems framework in action here, The student voice, think about how many decisions the student made creating that video. From the pictures, from the narration, from the tone, going from one to another, to another, to another, and the speed of them. All those decisions lead to voice, right? All those decisions lead to the student voice. And the 5 C's that are in action, the ability to communicate something about her mom and her accent and just the beauty of it. The creativity that went into it, the collaboration that went into it with her peers, with her colleagues. And then, of course, even the technical skills. Technical on one level of creating the video, but also the beauty of the narration in there, right? And there are the standards that are being hit throughout this process. The structure that we use to make our vision real is our capstone program. Each of our schools, each of our 21 schools has a capstone program. It's different than a project. It's different than a one and done. Our program starts when the kids enter in 7th grade, and it goes all the way through 12th grade. Throughout their time in AUHSD, our students are working on an e-portfolio. The e-portfolio exists through our learning management system, eCadence. And as they go through their tenure with us in Anaheim Union, in 7th grade through 12th grade, they're adding their performance task assessments to the portfolio. Within each performance task is a space for students to reflect. Our teachers do a great job. We've built reflective practices into the work that we do in AUHSD. Our teachers pause, and they give their students a chance to reflect on the 5 C's. How have I been a collaborator? How have I been a communicator? How is this relevant to my learning? How someday, when I am 20 years old, 25 years old, whatever career I might be in, how is collaboration important in that career? How is communication important? How is creativity important? We know the value of those skills. We know the value of reflection for learning. With artificial intelligence, everybody, knowledge is democratized. Knowledge is at our fingertips now. What's really important is the way that our students use the knowledge, the skills, the dispositions, and habits that they develop. Reflective practices are going to help us get them there. So I'm really proud of what we've done in AUHSD and really making the space all throughout this school year, but also at the end. In 8th grade, there is some sort of a showcase for the students. They look different at each school. Our schools and even the students have autonomy on how they showcase their learning. Sometimes it's an interview, sometimes it's a soapbox speech, sometimes it's a mini TED Talk. It might be different at every school. And they do it again in 12th grade. So we have the opportunity to present to an authentic audience for our kids at least twice. Really proud of the work that our schools have done system-wide to make that happen. It started with a couple schools maybe about 10 years ago, and then it's grown and grown, and then 2 years ago, this is actually our 2nd year where it's district-wide, so everyone has it. And because of documents like the template, the design template, and the 9 guiding principles, we've really created that common language for our schools, for our teachers, to do the professional learning, to do the work to get them there and make the capstone go. The capstone is really, our promise to our students. It's our promise that we're going to give them relevant, rigorous, quality experiences all the time, 7 through 12, not just at the end. With all of the performance tasks, the student reflections, and the showcases experiences, we're collecting more data that we value than ever before. We're collecting the street data, and we're collecting that map data. We still use traditional metrics to guide some of our work. They point us in certain directions. But we know that often there are issues with using this data, as Tyler pointed out with the example of using the eCadence data there. Sometimes with traditional metrics like SBAC scores, the CAS scores, or AP scores, there's a time lag, right? The kids are gone, and then we're just getting the numbers. It only assesses students in math and literacy. With this data that we have, all of our teachers are informed. Our VAPA teachers are informed. Our ROP teachers are informed. Our CTE teachers are informed and can use this data to learn about their students and to inform their practices. Sometimes It provides a limited understanding of growth, and there's often, as we know, a potential for bias and inequities in that data. This year, for the first time ever, district-wide, we've collected 5 Cs data. Through the work that our students are doing, the work that our teachers are doing, the reflections that our students are doing, we're actually finding data, collecting data around the 5 Cs. Collaboration, creativity, those skills and dispositions that are valued beyond high school, that are valued by industries and businesses, we're collecting data around them for our students. That's hard to do. That is hard data to capture. And here's what's great about it. It's timely, almost in real time. We're getting it a week after we collect it. It's relevant to all of our subject areas. It aligns with the skills and dispositions that we've talked about, businesses and industries. It's actionable. We can use the data to inform our next moves with the students that we have in front of us. And what's best of all, it's humanizing data. It's the most human data that we've ever had. And I'm going to hand it back to Carlos.
All right, so we're going to finish up here in just in a couple of slides, but ultimately what we'd wanted to share is that in these shifts that Mike just described in terms of the data that we value and that we're capturing and that we're focusing on, that's timely, that is really community schools approach driven. Our outcomes are still outperforming the typical, community. Celebrating our civic engagement, we've received Civic Learning Awards, California Democracy Schools coming out of Los Angeles County Office of Ed, students earning the State Seal of Civic Engagement, again a strength, and then students have been National Make of Us Soapbox winners. We also see that the typical and traditional metrics that still important to look at and to measure and to capture are still moving in the right direction. Graduation rates, A through G completion, career technical education and completion of a pathway. The State Seal of Biliteracy, again, with doubles down on our strengths and our assets that our community brings, with 23% of all of, number 2 in Orange County with the number of students that are earning the State Seal, and number 1 in California with the State Seal of Civic Engagement. So we, UC Irvine, one of our close institutions that we send students to, they've shared that typically our UCI students, the general population, they continue to persist through. They retain from year 1 to year 2 at a rate of about 86 to 88%. Our students, when arriving there, retain at a rate of 95 to 99%. Right? So persistence, right, through those challenges, being mindful of the skills that are being taught in and out of the classroom, it's showing that post-secondary institutions, they're thriving in that environment. We also, again, are proud of the work that we're doing around, UCI data that I just shared, and then also the civic engagement, as just described. So ultimately, proud of the work that we're doing that still continues to help ensure that our students, our staff, our teachers, our community, our families are thriving. And with that, we close. We thank you for your time, and I know I'll open it up for questions and turn it back over to you, Board President Jackie.
Thank you very much for an extensive presentation. I'm going to let you folks start with questions first, and then I'll ask mine after you've had a chance to. Or make comments. You don't have to ask questions. You know what? You know us. You can say what you want to say. All right. Anybody want to start?
Sure. I had a comment more than anything. Prior to becoming a teacher 26 years ago, I ran a market research company where we were coding data on a regular basis, and I had 25 employees sitting there for 8 hours manually coding data so it could then be fed into a database. So it was very impressive for me to see how you're using that and leveraging it, and it made me think about our school experience survey and how much more valuable it would be if we could have instantly at a school-based level access to what's going on, so then be able to address it rather than using it in a more punitive manner of, oh, this school's not doing well based on the school experience survey. But how powerful would it be to get those instant inputs from the parents to be able to leverage that?
Yeah, great comment. And I just do want to mention that we do have Thought Exchange, and everyone has access to Thought Exchange, and you can use that, and it automatically populates that information. That's also something that we use in the LCAP, and that's similar to what was just described here with eCadence. So I want to thank the Anaheim Unified School District for coming here and to present to us the Community Schools Initiative and how it's been so combined. It's been able to incorporate all of the different departments and divisions, looking at instruction, looking at social emotional wellness, and looking at all of the various aspects of a school community, all incorporated into the community schools. So I congratulate you for that. I have made many connections to what we do. I see that in our system, because it's so large, we have so many of the elements that you described throughout our district, and our goal is to bring in whatever is most relevant to a school when they have found, after analyzing their assets and looking at what their needs are and seeing what we can incorporate into those schools. So some of the things are like our CTE linked learning. We have CTE linked learning programs that represent 15 industry sectors. We have about 170 schools that have CTE programs, 87 linked learning with capstone programs, and then career readiness badges. But do they all live in community schools? Not exactly, but do they all want or need those things is what we're trying to identify. We have a dual enrollment program where our high school students also attend college and leave high school with college credits, project-based learning as well, and peer mentors, students that mentor one another so that they can raise awareness about issues that are important to them, like use of fentanyl, pregnancies, and all those different topics that are important to adolescents, as well as the thought exchange. So I saw the way that you're able to capture data the way you did now. We do that regularly. That's how our strategic plan was developed, using the thought exchange in many different stakeholder groups. Our digital portfolios through Schoology, or when students are graduating from a CTE or linked learning program, those are some similarities. Again, we have all of these practices throughout our district, but how do we bring them all to our community schools? And is it something that our community schools are interested in, right? So we want to know, after you've analyzed all of your data, like you mentioned, your street data, is this what you want to offer? And so based on every school's unique need, we're supporting them and transforming their classroom ecologies and helping them really establish and create school sites and classrooms that best meet the needs of their students. So you've really ignited a lot of thinking. It's all been very thought-provoking. I used that word about ignite because as you shared about the soapbox, we also have the Get Lit curriculum. So students also participate in oratoricals. And so there's some similarities there. Again, but do they exist all in community schools? Not really, because we have so many schools, but a very small percentage of them are community schools. And I'm hoping that more people will apply and become encouraged to be part of that process. So thank you very much for presenting today.
Thank you so much for all this information. I really, really appreciate it. I think I'm going to sell my house and move to Anaheim. Sorry, y'all. But I do have two questions. The first one, can you tell me a little bit about unnecessary testing? Like, you touched upon testing and how that data is a little bit antiquated by the time we get it. So can you speak to me about that? That's my first question.
Yeah, important conversation that's happening across the state. We just left a deep dive learning exchange with two other community school organizations that are doing amazing work around the state. And we're talking about how important the way we spend our time, how we use the downtime in order to evaluate things, whether it's good, bad, what do we need to grow. And as Mike described, what's antiquated is what's lagging is that test score, those test scores. If we only live in that box, then we're trying to recommend or make recommendations or make changes on data based on historical, lagging past data, which is important, but we got to continue to ask the questions about, more than that, dig deeper and then live in the moment, which is where our students and our families and our staff are. To use that maybe as a question as to, we found last year this, let's ask the question why as we dig into the regions, or the areas, the different groups, But then let's ask our students, what do we believe to be important based on what we think? Is this true? Does this mean that, we really aren't mastering mathematics? Well, our teachers would say they're really thriving in these areas, as we can see from, other types of assessments, performance tasks, project-based learning. Is this really true that they're lagging in math and English, where UCI is saying no, because they're able to persist through, problem solve, think critically, compassionately, and be able to collaborate with others, right? So that's why we can't just take at face value that is fact and that is what we're stuck in. We're really asking the right questions from that to be able to get to how can we ensure that we can share that our students and families and our staff are doing amazing work in and out of the classroom. And we're seeing it through the college. We're seeing it through where they end up in their job, the workforce. Right? They're coming back. They're sharing, that they are thriving in careers. And typically, the students on page 1 of the transcript, maybe even the grades are a little lagging. Right? The grades, we got to make sure that we are helping our students see past that. Yes, that's part of the capstone interviews. Although I struggled this semester, 2.0 GPA, I didn't really do very well. Here's why. I'm glad you asked me, because this is what happened. My mom got sick. I had to stop going. I had to go to work. I had to take care of my sisters. Now I'm able to push through that, and I've learned a lot through that struggle. And because page 2, I can show you all the amazing things that I'm proud of, because my teachers were compassionate with me. They work with me, and now I'm helping do amazing work in and out of the classroom. And the internships that I'm applying my skill set in is helping me as well. So
let me leapfrog with you just quickly. What tests do you administer, and which tests do you not administer?
We take the tests in the spring. We need to. We do not do interim assessments. We do not do any of those interim assessments. We don't spend any time, preparing for the spring. We're preparing through the way we're doing work every day, every period. But we don't pause and say, all right, now we're going to stop this, and we're going to spend time preparing for the test by doing these interim assessments. That is not what we've been doing for how many years? And Tyler, however many years, 5, 6, 10 plus.
Yeah, and sorry, I just want, from a teacher perspective, what that means to me, right? And so when I feel like in AUHSD as a teacher, I'm unleashed, right? When something happens in our community, happens in the world, happens in our classroom, we have the space now. We don't have that pressure to teach to the test, to where we can pause, address it, do a cool lesson around it. And we talk about culturally relevant pedagogy all the time, but how can you actually truly teach culturally relevant pedagogy if we're just teaching to a test that was designed by who knows who, for who knows what population? So it's as a teacher, I've never felt freer. I got into teaching to help kids. I got into teaching to support them, build skills, not to pass a test. And as a student, I was that guy who couldn't pass the test. So I love that you asked the question, and honestly, that's why what I love about our district is we can just teach skills, and we can teach what matters to our kids.
So I'm 27 years now in the profession. I was a teacher at Savannah High School for 18 years. When I started teaching, the first couple years, we developed our curriculum maps. I was an English teacher. We developed our curriculum maps by counting test questions. We would look at the spring exams, and we would say there are six questions on the exam around this standard, 5 around this, 5 around this. And we mapped our curriculum maps around test questions. That's what we did. Without students in the front, without students in the center. And now that's the first thing we do when we're planning curriculum in AUHSD, is we're looking at the students and really centering the students in what we're doing in the classroom.
Go ahead, I know you had another question.
We use the data. Our kids take the SBAC. The data reveals trends, right? It points us in directions sometimes, but it's not our driver. The test is not our driver. Our kids are our drivers.
Thank you, I applaud that as a parent. My second question is, my understanding is you have a dual language immersion program. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Dual language parent here.
Nice. Yes, so dual language immersion lives in the junior high and the high school. There's feeder patterns that start with the junior high. We have Spanish, we have Vietnamese, we have Arabic, and the 3 dual language immersion programs. How many schools? 3, 4 junior highs, 4 high schools, across the region. Again, that's an asset that our community brings, and through the community advocacy that began in one of our elementary districts that now fed us. It put healthy tension and pressure to say, this is what the community values. Let's ensure that we are supporting it as well. Yeah.
Go ahead. What is the model you use? And is it consistent, and does it begin at TK, kinder?
So elementary district is one district, whereas 7 through 12. So their model is, gosh, I wish I could speak a little bit more to the model. I'm looking at my teammates. Can I dial a friend? No, but the elementary district is, my son was in it for years ago. Gosh, they started in the 90-10, like 100%, and they dropped down to, now we're at 50-50. The 50-50 model is now where they end up once they land at the junior high. Yeah, okay.
I am so grateful for all the work that you are doing every day and that you're sharing it and its best practices and we can scale it up. And I'm also very curious, right? Because how amazing that your, performance tasks, and as human beings, we have so many performance tasks in front of us with climate change and all the things that we have to fix and work on. I'm wondering about teacher time. Right, because that's it sounds like you really appreciate the craft of pedagogy and putting together your plans. How do you do that? If you could maybe describe what that process looks like.
So we have, we bring our community school teacher leads and our 5Cs coaches, we have monthly meetings with them. So we bring them together for a full day release to continue to build their capacity. So they are there for a full day, so once a month. And then our hope, their charge is to go back to their school sites and provide professional learning for their staff. So every Thursday we have late starts. So every Thursday is a late start, and typically 2 days out of the month. So 2 Thursdays out of the month is really designed for teacher collaboration. So we know there's never enough time. Time is our biggest enemy, right? So as we are looking forward into next year, our professional learning calendar, we are really trying to be very intentional about carving out space for teachers to have that ongoing collaboration. So not just our teacher leads that we will continue to bring them, released during, once a month, but really thinking about how can we create those spaces ongoing at the school sites to provide that time for teacher collaboration around PTAs and refining their craft. So I don't know if there's additional information that our Jeff wants to share.
Time is a challenge, and it's the one thing that we don't have more of. And while we do set aside time, whether late start or collaboration days, pull-out days, after-school paid time, there's a lot on teachers' plates. So it is an ongoing discussion, an ongoing struggle to make sure that they have time to collaborate, but they also have the space to just sit with themselves to think about how do they want to do this in their classroom, because they're going to be the ones in their classroom. So it is a struggle to do all the things that you saw here today. And as a classroom teacher, it's year 26 for me. I spent 24 years as a junior high history teacher, now as the association president on my release. But that daily of lesson planning, teaching, grading, that cycle, especially having 6 classes a day, 37 kids in a class, it does present a challenge. And then when we're talking about such a systemic shift, we have to be very careful in rolling out the scope and the pace of the change. We adopted a philosophy last year when we began our community schools work that we were going to go slow to go fast, because we wanted to make sure that we laid the right structures down. We wanted to make sure we had the right foundation for it. And there is some, like Carlos, where I love the phrase healthy tension about seeing where we want to go, where we want to be, but also really being honest about where we're at and how can we chart that course to be the most successful in the end. And that looks a little different for every teacher. It looks a little different for every school and every department. But just being able to develop, as we develop our students, voice and choice, we at the same time want to make sure our teachers have the same, and that they have structures of feedback both within their departments, within their sites, within the district, and we collaborate together on bringing that feedback and make adjustments as needed. But time is always a challenge, and as you know, I'm sure teacher workloads here are just as busy as teacher workloads in Anaheim, and we want to make sure that all of our teachers and staff are take care of themselves and manage that pace in a doable way. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
A couple more quick things as I was sitting down thinking. We do have, again, as we're planning into next year, we have a non-student day every year in October. And so we have, are committed to bringing all of our teachers together. We do this every year. It's called our Ed Summit. And so this coming year, what we're going to do is really, a big chunk of that day is going to be built intentionally around providing the space for teachers to collaborate. So that is one. We also have summer professional learning, so bringing in teachers, and we'll pay them for their attendance. We offer a summer colloquium for our teachers to participate, and this is really going to be dedicated for them to bring their performance tasks, redesign, refine, those PTAs and collaborate with other teachers across the district. So we're opening it up to anyone in the district who wants to participate in that. We're going to offer it twice during the summer, so it could be anywhere between, 50 to 100, 200 teachers who will be able to participate in that.
Thank you, because you can just see it's so intentional, right? It's really a plan, and you've finished the plane, for the most part, before it's in the air and with the students in mind. I also wanted to say, is it Amelia? Your speech was awesome, and I'm going to make sure my kids go back and watch it because I learned so much, and I know that they will too. That was awesome.
You do measure things that the state tests don't measure. So what else do you measure besides what the state test measures?
So definitely the test, separate from the test, the dashboard and the California dashboard helps us also look at other things that are important and local measures like our parents and our voice and those engaged families. So career technical education pathway completion is a huge opportunity for our students that typically wouldn't necessarily on the test be successful. Both are important, and again, how do we ensure that our students are also able to succeed, again, not just at the high school, but continue to thrive at the post-secondary. And internships and mentoring experience, our goal is 100% of our students completing an internship and mentoring experience. When you talk to the industry partners, and we have 87 plus, almost 100 industry partners, they're wanting to know when they interview for a job, what experience do you have? Yeah, I see that you went to whatever amazing university, but what experience do you have? And that experience speaks volumes. And that's what the industry is asking for. Experience now, at the high school level with internships. Mentoring is critical for us. So business partners, part of the community schools approach is, be a part of the help to help the student thrive now. And there's different levels of internships or mentoring, right? Tier 1 is come for a day and hang out with our students, share with what you do in your class, your business, to all the way through a 6-week summer internship program that the student is hired on to work in that workspace, whether it's an attorney office, whether it's a hospital, whether it's clinics. So that is critical, and we're getting there. We're close to 100% of our students, some level of internships or mentorships. So that is important. And those are the things that we measure in terms of the experiences that our students have in and out of the classroom.
I have a couple of questions about artificial intelligence, because you use that dramatically. So let's say I'm a high school history teacher and I'm getting ready to start a unit on Reconstruction and the sellout of Reconstruction. What kind of questions do I ask my students to make sure that I'm meeting what they're interested in and their needs? And then when I get them, do I have to just change what I teach?
What questions are you asking the AI, or what do you?
What questions when I get ready to teach this unit? In your system, don't you involve the students in wanting to know what they'd want to know?
Yeah.
Okay, so they give me a bunch of things they want to know. What if I don't know those things myself? Because Reconstruction's a big thing. I happen to be very good at it, but I don't know everything.
Yeah.
So they pick 3 topics I know nothing about. What the hell do I do?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what the beautiful thing about artificial intelligence comes in, right? I think there's always this conversation of, AI replacing teachers or whatever those conversations are. But instead, actually, education in AI is probably the most beneficial thing that's happened to me, because it actually allows us to differentiate and personalize instruction. So it allows me as the teacher the space to address exactly what you just said. My students are interested in 3 different things. Traditionally, as a teacher, I would have to, 1, go home, learn what those things are. I would have to figure out different learning paths, different materials, different assignments, and we talked about time. Okay, that's impossible task. I have 180 students. How am I going to do that? AI allows us an opportunity to do that, to where I can differentiate, I can get activities, I can get assignments, I can get unit plans at my fingertips. And so it allows kind of more of that personalized and individualized instruction.
So I've gotten these answers from my students, and on 4 of the topics out of 8, I know nothing. And so who do I tell in AI, and what does it tell me back? Does it tell me where to go look? Does it tell me information itself? Does it tell me how to find information? Who writes the lesson plan? Do I write the lesson plans?
Yeah, so
Throughout all the ones I've been teaching?
it depends
No,
on.
these are serious questions.
No, and what I love about the questions that you're asking it's kind of what I do and what I'm thinking about from a teacher. And I am, it said on there, I was the eCadence liaison. So I work very closely with our learning management system, and specifically right now, this last 7-8 months around AI, I build AI apps. And we have now like a suite of 40 for exactly that. So within our system, within our learning management system, we can go in as a teacher and I can give a prompt on deforestation, and I wanted to make a PTA. PTAs involve the 5 Cs, involve civic action, it can involve so many different things. Asking a teacher to do that multiple times is very hard, but what we're able to do leveraging AI within our learning management system is a teacher can go in and they select PTA civic action. There's a button. All they have to do is give us the topic. Hey, I don't know how familiar you are with AI, but prompting is incredibly important. Asking the AI to do something to get the output that you want is vital. Also very hard to do. So what we've done, and part of my job in Ed Division, is we've controlled the back-end prompting to where we did it for them. So all the teacher has to do is type in deforestation, and we would spit out a unit plan for you. We'd spit out a lesson for you. Immediately, an assignment for you.
You should start with that when you talk to teachers.
Hey, I can talk here for 2 more hours if you want. This is getting the juices flowing.
No, but the reason I say that is because it's very real. I happen to have spent a lot of time on Reconstruction because I think it's why we are where we are today.
Yeah.
But I know there are many areas I still don't know much about. And my concern would be, as a teacher, I've got all of this input from kids about what they want to know. Some of it I don't know either. And you're saying that you've set up a system with artificial intelligence to give me information that I don't have to spend now 50 hours trying to find myself, including lesson plans and unit plans.
Assignments, discussion boards, anything. But I want to make it very clear. I would not, and I do not want our teachers just to generate that and give it.
Right. No,
Okay?
I understand that. I get that part. Okay. But I'm simply saying I think that it's scary.
I think it's exciting.
I think it's both exciting. Well, most things that are scary are exciting.
It's true.
Okay. I think it's scary if you don't understand that you're getting a lot of assistance from artificial intelligence, because otherwise I look at that and say, I think my lesson plans are pretty damn good on this subject. Don't tell me I got to change anything. And you're telling me, yes, you do, because maybe it's not what's of interest to the children. Maybe it's not what may be useful to them today, as opposed to me just loving that subject so that I could teach it all year if you'd let me. I think it's an opportunity that is exciting. And I'm anxious to see us try it with some of our community schools, this whole use of AI, because I want to see if they had the reaction I did of, I know a lot about this, but if the kids ask me 5 questions and I only answer to 2 of them, what the hell do I do next? You have answers. I think we need to see some of that. I really do.
Yeah, and so we do have artificial intelligence. Our instructional technology initiative has developed a task force with technologists and professionals from across the country who has guided us on the policy of artificial intelligence. We provided professional development to our teachers in the summer, and we continue to do so, so that they know how to integrate that. We've used ChatGPT. With content, we use Discovery Education. So if there's a topic that a teacher wants more information on, you go on Discovery Education, you type in the standard of the topic, you watch videos that are interesting for the students that could be presented to them as well. So we have a lot of tools and resources.
I want to make sure, though, that they add that component of first asking the kids, what about this topic are you interested in? What do you already know?
And that's the science of teaching. That's where we should all start. We offer schools curriculum, we offer them all of these tools, but at the end of the day, it's the teacher who makes that connection, who establishes rapport and sees the interest of the student, and that's what makes learning come to life.
But what I like about what they do is it's a built-in. It's the first step. In our schools, it may or may not be the first step. It depends on the teacher.
Exactly.
Okay. I want it to be our first step, and that's why I'm excited about what I've heard today. Okay, we're going to run out of time. Go ahead.
Sorry, I think one other just a very important component of that is since AI is booming, there's so many shiny objects out there, right? And because at some point soon, right, like there's so many free things, they're going to start charging because AI is expensive.
Right.
But I think it's not about just having AI.
Right.
It's about the AI working for the teacher and the student. So having the ability to control the prompting, the drivers that you value, the community school pillars, we have built in. And that's different than just us going to ChatGPT and asking the perfect prompt.
That's what we want. I want it systematic as opposed to being available. All right, we have 3 people who want to speak. I'm going to let them go next. The first person is right now.
We are jumping right into public comment.
Immediately.
Immediately, if not soon, is the word of the day. For the first member, David Tukowski, are you out there? I think I saw you, Mr. Tukowski. Come on down. You have 2 minutes to speak once you begin.
Hi, yes, been in the storm so long. Leon Litwack, UC Berkeley, Pulitzer Prize winner, Reconstruction. What, your teacher?
My teacher.
My teacher as well. And I had his teacher, Kenneth Stamp, as my professor as well, along with Albert Raboteau. So there's good stuff, and as always, you hit it right at the heart of instruction and learning and the 14th Amendment, and whether we just write it or we live it. On the AI front, Stanford University, my brother's a freshman English professor there. This is the biggest challenge they have with these kids there is they know how to use this better than anybody. So I would really suggest that, and they're working with 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds in freshman English. So I would really find out, and it's about writing. It's not necessarily just what you zoomed in on the content. It's also about the writing process, which I think is ultimately the thinking process. So, a couple notes there. In terms of LA Unified, and I apologize for being a little late on this and reading the materials, but the question of accountability. First of all, we sort of have developed, we're giving out, say, $250,000 or $500,000 to a school that becomes a community school. This is the greatest what we're for plan, rather than setting up our schools for what we're against. But what are the accountabilities if you're at, say, McAllister High School, and you have 80 kids versus you're at a comprehensive high school as a community rep? What are the differences of what you're supposed to help deliver in kind and in direct resources? We should have some structure of accountabilities or responsibilities, better than accountability. And also, I think we delved immediately, and I hear a little bit, but I didn't hear the whole presentation, that it's focused around teachers being the community rep. I think it should be about a person with the qualities of engaging with a community. And that could be a classified, it could be an administrator, it could be a teacher, it could be a team. And so I think we went into it because it was driven by AFT and CTA. We got that in the legislation. But I think about delivering for kids and communities, we ought to be looking at the qualities of the job description and the accountabilities. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. Maria Luisa Palma, I see you're on the line. Maria Luisa Palma, please press *6 to unmute yourself, and you'll have 2 minutes to speak once you begin. Maria Luisa Palma.
Yes, can you hear me?
You sure can. Go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria Luisa Palma. I'm a parent, and also I am speaking on behalf of Oleada Inc., a nonprofit organization. And I'm speaking today on your announced resolution on incorporating financial literacy into the LA Unified curriculum. My opinion is that this is a missed opportunity. I recommend that you assess offering a financial literacy course, a full course, available to all high school students. I strongly believe that financial literacy is a civil right. As a financial services professional and a credit specialist over my career of over 30 years, I reviewed thousands and thousands of loan packages, both to consumers and businesses. I reviewed delinquent loans, charge-off loans, and statistics of complex loan portfolios at financial institutions. And sadly, I've seen the negative effects on whole population's quality of life due to a lack of financial understanding and many years' worth of bad decisions. And our most marginalized communities need it the most. The need for financial literacy education is much greater in our Los Angeles community than you have described in the whereases in the proposed resolution. Now, with the increase in interest rates and the impacts of that into our Los Angeles community, I suggest you analyze metrics and the credit impact, such as changes in average credit scores, movement in consumer loan balances. This data is available from the major credit bureaus, such as Experian, but probably from the credit unions you also mentioned in the resolution. Now, the fact that California as a state does not require a financial literacy course for graduation is a shameful situation. This is an opportunity to show students the practical use of math, for example, through the time value of money calculation and how to use it. So at least I ask that you ensure that all students are at least offered one cohesive financial literacy course in high school, not just for this as you suggested in your resolution. This is at least as important as A through G curriculum. And please, as Los Angeles Unified School District, you're in a position to lead by example. Please consider this. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Diana Guillen, I see you're on the line. Diana Guillen, please press *6 to unmute yourself. And you'll have 2 minutes to speak once you begin. Diana Guillen, por favor, oprime estrella 6 para hablar y tiene 2 minutos, lo siento, adelante. Diana Guillen.
Sí, ¿me pueden escuchar?
Sí, se escucha.
Oh. Sí,
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Diana Guillen, and I was chairperson of DLAC the last 4 years. And this year, I'm a member of the PAC committee. We have a lot of concerns as parents. Mr. Eddie, who is in charge of providing information for LCAP, the committee is asking for information, and he is saying he is not able to provide it because his higher up is saying that's not possible, and due to certain laws, it's not provided. So we're parents, we're asking questions, and we are not treated as partners. We are treated as something from the outside of the district. We're the ones that are concerned for the security and the safety of our students, and we're worried for their academic success, and they need support. So unfortunately, we have a big percentage that are 3 grades under the standard, and in high school and middle school, it's even worse. So I think the district needs to focus on the math programs, how we can assist our students. I've seen that in LCAP, the district they have treated different things as if this were something to give away. The superintendent is giving more money for buses and things like that, as if that were going to improve the education of our students. That's not the way. The problem is that the school, there's no academic success. It's something very different because the parents are not being integrated. And in the East, I had the opportunity to go yesterday where the presentation for LPAC was being done and only 2 parents assisted.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you. Okay, that concludes public comment.
All right. Chief Academic Officer.
Thank you very much, President Goldberg. So I want to thank you, Mr. Carlos Hernandez and the Anaheim Unified School District for your presentations. I also commend the student who came up to present. Thank you so much for your inspiration and all that you shared with us today. The Division of Instruction's Community Schools Initiative team will be back before the committee in May to what takes place inside of a community school classroom in LAUSD. Specifically, the team will highlight how the community school classroom is built to demonstrate the California Community School Framework values, ensure key conditions for learning, and present while engaging students in standards-based, rigorous first teaching. We'll also share how community schools are fortifying the joy and wellness pillar of the strategic plan through reimagining the classroom ecology and providing consistent social-emotional learning opportunities as the first step. We'll also be sharing how we're collaborating with our A through G office on equitable grading and instruction and ensuring students are career and life ready through the development of interdisciplinary project-based learning opportunities that lead students in grades TK7 to be ready for career technical ed and link learning pathways in grades 8 through 12. Again, thank you very much for the inspiration. We've learned a lot and we look forward to continuous collaboration. Thank you.
And I just would also like to include my gratitude for you schlepping up here, and now you're going to have to go home in the traffic, so I appreciate that, and I know what a challenge that is in Southern California. I am looking to you, and I'm going to be working with our Chief Academic Officer as to, we have a lot of the elements, but what I don't see and that they have done over 20 years, not overnight, is to put it into a structure where the pieces fit. And I think that's really what we have to grapple with, because as you were describing them, many of the pieces we have, but right now they're pieces, and people will use them or not use them or not use them in connection with other pieces. Their situation is different. The pieces have, over time, been made to fit together, to work together, to give teachers and everybody, parents and students, an opportunity in a structured way to be connected to all of this. So that's what I think I got out of today, is that we got a lot of pieces, but they're not yet into a structure which makes it more likely that it will have a dramatic effect on the outcome for kids. And so I thank you for that. It gives me some ideas of some things we need to talk about. As you talk about our next meetings, I think some of that may rightfully be there as well. But I thank you very much, because this encourages us, as we work on community schools, to also think beyond just the notion of the 4 pillars, but how to make structures to make those 4 pillars be more likely to work for communities, kids, parents, and teachers and families. And so thank you so very much for giving us some things to think about and to work on, and for your 20-year commitment. And please give your superintendent, whom I have had a chance to work with in Sacramento, my great affection and admiration. Thank you very much. We are closed now at
5:31.
There you go. Thank you very much.